There comes a moment when you realize that the noise around you isn't helping you grow. It's distracting you from your purpose. The opinions, the comparisons, the endless chase for validation, none of it adds real value to who you are becoming. The truth is, real power is born in silence. Growth doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly in the moments when no one is watching, when you stop trying to prove yourself and start improving yourself. Everything begins to shift. The world starts to notice what you once had to shout about. Focus isn't about shutting others out. It's about tuning into your own frequency, your own potential, your own hunger. It's about walking your path so deeply that the noise fades and the vision sharpens. Because when you give your energy to becoming the best version of you, the results speak louder than words ever could. Silence becomes your armor. Discipline becomes your weapon. And soon, you don't need to convince anyone of your worth. They'll see it in everything you do. Silence is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. In a world where everyone is desperate to be seen, to be heard, to make noise just to feel significant, silence becomes a superpower. It's in silence that the mind finds its balance, that the soul remembers what truly matters, and that the heart learns to listen. People often mistake silence for inaction, but silence is often the loudest form of control. It is the ability to stay calm when chaos surrounds you, to stay grounded when others are reactive, to keep your composure when your emotions demand eruption. Silence is not about muting your voice. It's about mastering your energy. When you learn to be still, you learn to see. You begin to notice things that others overlook. The subtleties of emotion, the motives behind actions, the truth hidden behind words. The power of silence is not in the absence of sound, but in the presence of awareness. When you stop reacting to every opinion, every insult, every distraction, you start reclaiming your power. Every moment you choose silence over argument, reflection over reaction, you build inner strength. You learn that not every battle deserves your sword, not every comment deserves a reply, and not every person deserves access to your peace. People who understand the art of silence operate on a different frequency. They don't need to prove themselves because they know exactly who they are. They don't waste time trying to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding them. They let their actions do the talking, their growth do the explaining, and their peace do the winning. Silence sharpens your focus. It removes the clutter that noise creates. When you embrace silence, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You recognize your fears, your desires, your triggers, your strengths. The voice within you, which is often drowned by the noise of the world, becomes clear and confident. You begin to trust it. You start making decisions that align with your purpose rather than your ego. You start realizing that sometimes the loudest thing you can do is say nothing at all, because silence can disarm arrogance, confuse negativity, and preserve dignity. It is a quiet defiance that speaks volumes. Those who practice silence are not detached from life. They are deeply connected to it. They understand that noise often comes from insecurity. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The calmest person it takes maturity to stay silent when your ego wants to respond, and it takes discipline to stay focused when the world tries to pull you into distraction. Silence teaches you patience, and patience gives you perspective. When you step back instead of lashing out, you begin to see the bigger picture. You begin to realize that not everything requires your reaction. Not everyone deserves your explanation. Your peace is your responsibility, and silence is how you protect it. In silence, you cultivate self-awareness. You begin to observe how your emotions rise and fall, how your thoughts wander, and how your mind reacts to the world. You learn that emotional control is not about suppression, but about understanding. The more silent you become, the more control you gain over your impulses. You stop being driven by emotions and start being guided by wisdom. You stop letting anger dictate your actions, fear dictate your choices, and pride dictate your responses. Silence gives you clarity, the kind of clarity that can't be found in noise. It's where solutions emerge, creativity flows, and intuition speaks. Many people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. It strips away distractions and leaves you alone with your thoughts. But that is where true growth begins. The journey of becoming your best self starts in solitude. It's in those moments when the world is quiet that you realize how powerful you truly are. You don't need the approval of others to validate your worth. You don't need applause to confirm your progress. You simply keep working, learning, and evolving in silence, and when the time is right, your results will make the noise for you. Silence is also a teacher of resilience. It trains you to endure, to wait, to stay composed. When everything inside you wants to explode, it builds emotional endurance. It reminds you that not every situation deserves an immediate response. Sometimes silence is the response. It's a form of emotional intelligence, a way of showing that you are in control of yourself even when you can't control what's happening around you. When you stay silent, you are not surrendering. You are strategizing, you are observing, conserving energy, and waiting for the right moment to move, because when you finally act, it will be intentional and effective, not impulsive or wasteful. Silence allows you to listen, not just to others, but to life itself. You start hearing what people truly mean instead of what they merely say. You start understanding the emotions behind their words, the pain behind their behavior. You become empathetic without losing yourself. You develop emotional depth, and that depth makes you strong. While the world is busy shouting opinions, you are busy understanding truths. While others are reacting, you are reflecting. That's the difference between people who move with purpose and those who move with noise. When you focus on yourself and embrace silence, you start noticing that life begins to move differently. You attract peace instead of conflict, clarity instead of confusion, purpose instead of chaos. Your silence becomes magnetic. It draws the right energy and repels the wrong. People begin to sense your strength without you having to display it. Your presence speaks even when you don't, because silence, when rooted in confidence and purpose, is the loudest statement of all. It says, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I don't need to announce it to the world. The ones who achieve greatness are not always the ones who speak the loudest. They were the ones who listen the most, observe the most, and act the most effectively. Silence is their secret weapon. It gives them the clarity to see opportunities where others see problems. It gives them the patience to wait for the right moment instead of chasing instant gratification. It gives them the discipline to stay steady when others panic. Silence is not passive. It's preparation. It's where warriors sharpen their minds, creators shape their visions, and dreamers build their foundations. When you learn to trust silence, you start realizing that life doesn't require constant noise to progress. Growth doesn't need to be broadcast. The tree grows silently, the sun rises silently, and the most powerful changes in your life will happen silently too. In that stillness, you become unstoppable. Not because you speak loudly, but because your silence holds power that words can never express. Focusing on self-improvement instead of seeking external validation is one of the hardest yet most liberating shifts you can ever make in your life. From a young age, society teaches you to look outward for approval, to seek the nods, the likes, the applause that confirm your worth. You're conditioned to measure your success through someone else's eyes, to chase validation from people who often don't even understand your journey. But the truth is, the moment you stop chasing approval and start chasing growth, everything begins to change. You stop performing for the crowd and start performing for your own evolution. You stop caring about being seen and start caring about becoming better. Self-improvement is a silent pursuit. It doesn't come with recognition at first. It comes with long nights, internal battles, uncomfortable growth, and private victories that no one claps for. But that's where your real power begins to take shape, away from the spotlight, beyond the noise of opinions, deep in the work that no one else sees. When you live for validation, your happiness becomes fragile. It depends on others' moods, opinions, and attention. One compliment lifts you up, one criticism tears you down. You become addicted to approval like a drug, always craving more but never satisfied. But when you shift your focus inward, your power returns to you. You begin to validate yourself through progress, discipline, and integrity. You start asking, am I better than I was yesterday? Instead of, do they think I'm good enough? That single question changes the entire direction of your life, because real fulfillment doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. It comes from knowing that you're doing the work, improving your mind, building your resilience, and living with intention. Self-improvement is not glamorous. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. It's waking up every day and choosing to be better, even when no one notices. It's choosing to read instead of scroll, to learn instead of complain, to take accountability instead of making excuses. It's about creating habits that serve your growth instead of feeding your insecurities. And the most powerful part of that journey is that no one else can do it for you. No amount of encouragement or praise can substitute the effort required to transform yourself. You can have 1,000 people cheering for you, but if you're not willing to grow, nothing changes. Likewise, you can have no one believe in you, and yet your life can transform entirely if you stay focused on becoming your best self. When you focus on self-improvement, you stop competing with others and start competing with your old self. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You realize that everyone's timeline is different and that success isn't a race. It's a reflection of persistence and patience. The comparison trap destroys more dreams than failure ever could. But once you learn to appreciate your own pace, life begins to feel lighter. You begin to trust the process. You start celebrating your small wins instead of overlooking them, because the truth is, every small improvement compounds over time. Every habit, every lesson, every bit of effort builds momentum. And eventually, that momentum becomes unstoppable. Self-improvement also requires brutal honesty. You must be willing to confront your weaknesses, your fears, your flaws, the parts of yourself that are easy to hide behind external validation. It's easier to seek approval than to face accountability. It's easier to be liked than to be real, but lasting growth demands truth. You have to admit where you've been lazy, where you've settled, where you've lied to yourself. You have to take responsibility for the results you're getting. And once you do that, something incredible happens. You take control. You no longer feel like a victim of your circumstances because you understand that change starts with you. The moment you stop blaming others and start improving yourself, you step into your power. The pursuit of validation keeps you dependent. The pursuit of improvement makes you free. When your confidence comes from within, no one can take it away. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You walk differently, you speak differently, you think differently, because you know that your worth isn't up for debate. You understand that self-improvement is not about ego, it's about evolution. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer seeks validation because you built it internally through discipline and self-respect. And that kind of confidence cannot be faked. It radiates naturally. People begin to respect you not because you demand it, but because you've earned it through the quiet work you've done on yourself. The greatest shift happens when you start to enjoy the process of growth itself. You stop needing a finish line. You realize that the journey is endless, and that's what makes it beautiful. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to improve. Every failure becomes feedback. Every challenge becomes training. You start to see life differently. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? But instead, what is this teaching me? That mindset transforms pain into power and mistakes into mastery. When you view life through the lens of self-improvement, even the hard days have purpose. People who focus on self-improvement rather than validation don't need to talk about their growth. They embody it. They don't chase attention. Attention naturally follows them. They don't need to prove they're evolving. It shows in their discipline, their peace, and their presence. They understand that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most confident one. True confidence is quiet. It's built in private, one decision at a time, through the small, consistent actions that no one else sees. And in time, those actions create undeniable results. To truly focus on self-improvement, you must be willing to detach from the noise. You must learn to be content with being misunderstood, with walking alone, with being unseen for a while. Because growth often happens in isolation. The world won't always understand your silence, your focus, or your absence. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're doing it because you've realized that chasing validation is endless, but chasing mastery is infinite. One feeds your ego, the other feeds your soul. The quiet work you do today becomes the loud success that speaks for you tomorrow. Every time you choose self-improvement over validation, you're choosing substance over appearance, purpose over popularity, and peace over pressure. You're building something unshakable within yourself, something that no opinion can destroy. And when you reach that level of self-awareness, life becomes simpler. You no longer need the world's approval because you've already given yourself permission to grow. Let your results speak louder than your words, because talk is easy, but execution is rare. In a world obsessed with appearances and declarations, everyone wants to be seen doing something, yet few are truly doing the work that leads to transformation. People announce their goals before they've taken their first step. They post their ambitions, declare their intentions, and expect applause for effort that hasn't even begun. But success doesn't come from promises. It comes from proof. It doesn't care about what you say you'll do. It responds only to what you actually do. The loudest form of confidence is not in talking about your dreams, but in quietly working toward them until they're too obvious to be ignored. Words may inspire, but results define. You don't need to convince anyone of your capability when your actions already show it. When you focus on results instead of words, your mindset shifts. You no longer crave validation for your plans. You crave progress. You stop wasting time explaining your intentions and start investing time executing them. You begin to understand that silence during your hustle isn't emptiness. It's incubation. Every unseen effort, every late night, every disciplined routine is a seed planted beneath the surface, waiting to break through. The world won't notice you right away, and that's okay. Growth is invisible before it's undeniable. When you trust your process and commit to your craft, the results will eventually make noise so loud that explanations become unnecessary. There is a unique power in quiet progress. It builds credibility that no speech can match. People can question your motives, doubt your potential, or ignore your presence, but they can't argue with results. Results silence critics. They speak a universal language that needs no defense. They're undeniable evidence of persistence, discipline, and resilience. Every time you show up consistently, even when no one is watching, you're laying the foundation for those results. You're proving to yourself that your word means something. You're teaching yourself to follow through, because real strength isn't in talking about how strong you are. It's in showing up when it's hardest to. When you allow results to speak for you, you free yourself from the exhausting need to convince others. You stop caring about opinions and start caring about outcomes. You realize that attention gained through noise fades quickly, but respect earned through results lasts forever. There's a different kind of confidence that comes from knowing you're doing the work. It's not arrogance, it's quiet assurance. It's the calm that comes from discipline. It's the peace that comes from progress. When you truly dedicate yourself to your mission, you no longer feel the need to announce every move, because you know the results will reveal everything that words could not. Results require patience. You can't demand them overnight. The process tests your endurance, your focus, your belief. It teaches you to delay gratification, to persist through uncertainty, to keep working when there's no applause. Those who rely on words often quit when attention fades, but those who rely on results keep going regardless of recognition. They understand that mastery takes time. You can't fake consistent effort. You can't shortcut experience. Every day of disciplined action adds weight to your results. Every quiet improvement compounds into visible success. And when the time comes, the results speak so loudly that no introduction is needed. There's something magnetic about people whose work speaks for itself. They carry a presence that doesn't demand attention but naturally commands it. They don't need to prove anything, because their consistency has already built their credibility. You can feel it in how they walk, how they think, how they move. Their results are not an accident. They are evidence of devotion. While others are busy talking about what they will do, these people are too busy doing it. They don't need to tell their story because their success tells it for them. That's the kind of power that can't be manufactured. It must be earned through discipline, focus, and resilience. Talking about your dreams can feel good in the moment, but it can also trick the mind into feeling like progress has already been made. When you speak too soon, you borrow satisfaction that hasn't yet been earned. You start to feel accomplished before you've done the work, and that false sense of completion kills momentum. The best performers know that energy must be conserved for execution, not applause. They keep their plans private, their efforts consistent, and their results public, because once the work is done, it speaks in a way no speech ever could. Your results also shape your identity. Every accomplishment, no matter how small, rewires your self-belief. It proves to you that your actions matter. It strengthens your confidence from the inside out. You stop saying, "I'll try," and start saying, "I will." You stop hoping for success and start expecting it, because your results confirm your capability, and this inner confidence becomes unstoppable because it's built on evidence, not ego. It's built on the foundation of real effort, not empty talk. You begin to trust yourself at a deeper level. You know that if you say you'll do something, you will do it, because you've already proven it to yourself countless times. Letting your results speak also teaches humility. It reminds you that success is earned, not owed. It keeps you grounded because you know how much effort went into every achievement. You respect the process because you've lived it. You don't need to boast because you understand the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you did the work. The loudest people often seek attention because they haven't yet seen results. But those who've truly walked the path don't need to shout. They've already built their proof. Their silence is not emptiness, it's depth. Their quiet is not weakness, it's wisdom. When you stop announcing and start achieving, your entire energy changes. You become more intentional. You stop seeking instant recognition and start aiming for lasting impact. You begin to enjoy the solitude of work, the discipline of routine, and the delayed gratification that success demands. The process becomes fulfilling in itself. You understand that results are not just about the outcome, they are the reflection of who you've become through the journey. Every milestone reached, every challenge overcome, every skill refined becomes part of your story, told not in words, but in results. At the end of the day, words may inspire, but they can't replace execution. Words can motivate others, but they can't move your life forward. Only results can do that. Only action can create change. So while others are talking about what they plan to do, keep working in silence. Let them doubt, let them underestimate, let them overlook. Because when your results finally appear, They won't just speak, they'll roar, and by then you won't need to say a single thing. Discipline and consistency build unstoppable momentum because talent and motivation alone are never enough to carry you through the grind. Motivation is temporary, it burns bright and fades fast, but discipline stays when the excitement dies. It's the quiet force that gets you up when you don't feel like moving, that pushes you forward when your mind wants to quit. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it demands that you show up anyway. It's the commitment to action even when the outcome isn't visible yet. Most people wait for the right mood, the right time, the right conditions before they act, but those who achieve greatness understand that waiting is a trap. Discipline is what bridges the gap between goals and results. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the achievers. Without it, you can have all the potential in the world and still go nowhere. With it, you can start with nothing and build everything. Consistency turns discipline into momentum. It's not about doing something once or twice with intensity. It's about doing it repeatedly with intention. Success doesn't come from a single moment of effort. It comes from countless small actions stacked over time. The power of consistency lies in repetition, in showing up daily, even when progress feels invisible. The mind resists monotony, it craves novelty, but the truth is that greatness is born in routine. Every time you stay consistent, you're teaching your brain that commitment matters more than comfort. You're proving to yourself that you can rely on your own word. The more consistent you are, the stronger that trust becomes. And once you trust yourself fully, your confidence becomes unshakable because you know you will follow through. No matter how you feel, momentum is the reward for staying disciplined and consistent long enough. At first, it's slow, painfully slow. You put in effort and see little return. You fight doubt, fatigue, and frustration. But then something shifts. What once felt hard begins to feel natural. Your actions turn into habits, your habits turn into identity, and your identity begins to produce results effortlessly. That's momentum, the invisible force that builds from sustained effort. Once it starts, it's hard to stop. You no longer need to force yourself to move forward because movement becomes your default. You begin to crave the grind, to respect the process, to find meaning in the repetition. That's when discipline transforms from an obligation into a lifestyle. Discipline also brings clarity. When you commit to a routine, distractions lose their power. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter because you've built a structure that keeps you aligned with your purpose. Discipline teaches you to say no to laziness, to excuses, to anything that doesn't serve your goals. It's not about restriction, it's about freedom. The freedom to know that you are in control of your actions, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Most people think freedom means doing whatever they want, but real freedom comes from self-control. It's the ability to do what you must, even when you don't want to. That's what discipline gives you. The power to move your life forward with intention, not emotion. Consistency reinforces that discipline through patience. It's easy to be disciplined for a week, but the real challenge is staying consistent for months, years, even decades. The longer you persist, the more unstoppable you become. The results compound silently, like drops of water carving stone. Small, consistent actions create lasting impact. Most people quit because they don't see immediate progress. They forget that everything great takes time to grow. A seed doesn't sprout the moment it's planted, but every day it's nourished. It strengthens underground, unseen. That's what consistency is. Watering your goals daily, even when there's no sign of growth yet, because eventually the breakthrough comes, the roots become visible, the momentum takes over, and everything begins to align. The people who reach extraordinary heights aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to stop showing up. They built habits that carried them through doubt, boredom, and exhaustion. They understood that discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. You will fail, you will miss days, you will stumble, but consistency is about getting back up every single time. It's about refusing to let one bad day turn into a bad week. It's about realizing that progress isn't linear, but momentum grows if you don't give up. Every effort counts. Every repetition matters. Every disciplined choice compounds into strength. Discipline is also deeply connected to self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. You start believing that you can rely on yourself, that your words have weight, that your goals are within reach because you're willing to do what it takes. That inner trust becomes the foundation for everything else. When you're disciplined, you don't depend on motivation to act. You act out of identity. You don't ask, do I feel like it? You remind yourself, this is who I am. That mindset shift is what separates consistency from effort, Effort can fade, but identity stays. Once you identify as someone who is disciplined, the actions follow naturally. The challenge is that discipline often feels lonely. When others are relaxing, you're working. When others are distracted, you're focused. When others are celebrating short-term wins, you're still chasing long-term growth. But what most people see as sacrifice, disciplined people see as investment. Every hour spent improving yourself pays dividends later. Discipline demands patience now for freedom later. It's the price of mastery. And those willing to pay it gain access to levels of success and peace that shortcuts can never provide. Consistency requires faith. Faith that the effort will pay off, even when the results aren't visible yet. The process tests your belief in yourself. It forces you to act on trust, not evidence. You have to believe in your potential before anyone else does. Every day you show up, you strengthen that belief. You start to realize that progress doesn't always look exciting. Sometimes it's just showing up one more time, doing one more rep, writing one more line, taking one more step. But those small steps, repeated over time, create monumental change. Consistency transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Discipline and consistency together create momentum that nothing can stop. Once you've built it, it becomes a force that moves you forward almost automatically. You begin to notice that what once drained you now fuels you. The task that once felt difficult becomes second nature. The progress that once felt slow becomes rapid. That's the compound effect of steady effort. The same energy that once required willpower now flows naturally because you've trained your mind and body to operate with focus. Discipline becomes who you are, and consistency becomes what you do. Momentum becomes your reward. A powerful, unstoppable energy that carries you through challenges with confidence and calm. That is the beauty of discipline and consistency. They don't demand perfection. They demand persistence. They don't care about how you feel in the moment. They care about what you're committed to over time. They are the invisible engines behind every success story, the quiet builders of every empire, the steady rhythm behind every great achievement. And the longer you maintain them, the stronger you become, until nothing, not fatigue, not doubt, not failure, can slow you down. Energy spent on others' opinions drains your potential because every moment you dedicate to worrying about what others think is a moment stolen from your growth. People spend so much of their lives performing for an audience that doesn't even care. They adjust their dreams, silence their instincts, and dilute their authenticity just to fit into the expectations of others. But the truth is, no one's opinion will ever define you unless you allow it to. The moment you give others the power to dictate how you feel about yourself, you lose control of your direction. Every time you seek approval, you hand over a piece of your confidence. Every time you hesitate because of judgment, you delay your progress. It's a slow leak of energy, one that leaves you tired, frustrated, and disconnected from your own potential. The more you feed off external validation, the weaker your internal compass becomes. You start living for applause instead of purpose. And that's when your potential begins to fade into the background. Caring about others' opinions is natural, but living for them is self-destruction. The world will always have something to say, no matter what you do. If you succeed, they'll criticize your methods. If you fail, they'll mock your efforts. The opinions of others are unpredictable, inconsistent, and often rooted in their own insecurities. When you let those voices influence your path, you become reactive instead of intentional. You start chasing approval instead of excellence. You begin to doubt your instincts because you're listening to people who haven't walked your path, fought your battles, or carried your burdens. The irony is that most of the people whose opinions you fear are too focused on their own insecurities to even think about you as much as you imagine. People project their limitations onto others. When they tell you something can't be done, it's because they can't see themselves doing it. When they doubt you, they're reflecting their own disbelief. The more you internalize their noise, the more disconnected you become from your truth. Protecting your energy means guarding your focus from unnecessary distractions. Opinions are just that, opinions. They have no real power unless you give them space in your mind. The more you think about how others see you, the less time you spend building yourself. Your energy is your most valuable currency, and where you spend it determines what grows in your life. When you invest that energy into growth, learning, and self-improvement, you build momentum. When you waste it on validation, comparison, and fear of judgment, you stagnate. Every successful person learns to channel energy inward instead of outward. They stop seeking permission and start giving themselves approval. They learn to trust their intuition more than the noise of the crowd. That's how progress is made, through inner conviction, not outer applause. When you care too much about others' opinions, you lose authenticity. You start editing yourself to fit into molds that weren't designed for you. You wear masks, hide your truth, and adjust your expression just to be liked. But authenticity is magnetic. People may not agree with you, but they'll respect you for being real. The world doesn't need more people trying to please everyone. It needs people who stand firm in their values, even when it's unpopular. The energy you waste pretending could be the same energy that fuels your growth. Every time you silence your voice for approval, you distance yourself from your purpose. Every time you hold back because of fear, you rob yourself of opportunities that were meant for you. True confidence comes when you realize you don't need to be understood to be respected, and you don't need to be liked to be valuable. The people who achieve peace are not those who have the most approval. They're the ones who stop needing it. They learn that opinions fade, but purpose endures. You could spend your whole life trying to please everyone and still fail, because satisfaction is impossible to maintain when it depends on others. The moment you realize that, you gain freedom. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your decisions. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Instead, you redirect that energy toward your craft, your discipline, your growth. You realize that progress requires isolation, and isolation requires strength. When you pull away from validation, you create space for clarity. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You start understanding what you actually want, not what you've been told to want. Energy is finite, and the mind can only focus on so much at once. When you spend energy analyzing every judgment, every comment, every whisper, you leave yourself drained before you've even begun the real work. The people who excel aren't necessarily smarter or luckier, they're just focused. They don't waste emotional energy on what they can't control. They understand that others' opinions don't pay their bills, don't solve their problems, and don't define their worth. They keep their circle small, their focus narrow, and their goals clear. They know that silence is sometimes the best response to noise, because when you stop explaining yourself, you start expanding yourself. Letting go of others' opinions doesn't mean becoming arrogant or dismissive. It means prioritizing your peace. It means understanding that not everyone will see your vision, and that's okay. Most people can't understand a journey they've never walked. They only see the surface, not the struggle. You owe it to yourself to keep moving, even when no one claps. The same people who doubt now might one day ask you how you did it, but by then, you won't care about their opinions. You'll be too busy living the results of your focus. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you reclaim your energy. That energy becomes fuel for progress, creativity, and resilience. Caring less about others' opinions also builds inner peace. When you detach from judgment, you start living in alignment with your truth. You stop needing constant reassurance and start finding validation within. You realize that your value doesn't fluctuate based on how others perceive you. You begin to move differently, not out of fear, but out of confidence. The opinions that once paralyzed you no longer matter because you've built strength from within. You no longer need to respond to criticism because your work speaks for itself. You no longer need to justify your path because your purpose guides it. Every minute spent overthinking what others think is a minute lost from becoming who you were meant to be. You can't please everyone, but you can honor yourself. You can't control what people say, but you can control how you respond. The most successful, fulfilled people in the world aren't those who are loved by all. They're those who are authentic to themselves. They focus their energy on mastery, on growth, on peace. They understand that energy is sacred and should only be spent on what builds, not what drains. The world will always talk, but the noise fades when you rise high enough above it. You were never meant to live small just to keep others comfortable. The moment you stop caring about being liked, you start becoming limitless. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. It's what separates those who wish from those who do, those who dream from those who execute. Motivation might get you started, but it's discipline that keeps you going long after motivation fades. Most people wait to feel ready, to feel inspired, to feel the perfect moment before they act, but that moment never comes. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It demands consistency even when you're tired, even when no one's watching, even when the results aren't immediate. It's the quiet force that builds empires, sculpts greatness, and transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you move closer to your potential. Every time you delay action because it's hard, you widen the gap between who you are and who you could become. Discipline begins with control, the control of your thoughts, your habits, and your time. It means waking up when you said you would, even when the bed feels warm and the world is still asleep. It means showing up for your craft even when your mind tells you to take a break. It's doing the work when no one claps, when progress feels invisible, when the reward seems far away. The truth is, Discipline isn't glamorous. It's repetition. It's the same grind, the same effort, the same focus day after day. But hidden within that monotony is transformation. Every small act of discipline compounds into something far greater than the effort it took. The more consistent you are, the more you build momentum. Momentum creates belief, and belief creates mastery. That's why the disciplined eventually outperform the talented, because talent without discipline is wasted potential. The hardest part about discipline isn't starting. It's staying consistent when there's no immediate reward. The human mind craves instant gratification. It wants results now, validation now, comfort now, but discipline demands patience. It asks you to delay pleasure for purpose, to sacrifice comfort for growth. The gym sessions, the late night studying, the hours spent mastering a skill, all of it feels invisible until one day it's not. That's the irony of discipline. The results come so gradually that people think you changed overnight, when in reality it took years of silent effort. Every rep, every early morning, every decision to stay focused instead of distracted, it all adds up. People see success, but they don't see the discipline behind it. They see the spotlight, but not the years of shadows. Discipline also means saying no. No to distractions, no to shortcuts, no to the things that feel good now but cost you later. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something important. Your time is finite, your energy limited, and your focus sacred. Discipline is about protecting those things from anything that doesn't serve your purpose. It's learning to value long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. The world is filled with temptations, comfort, entertainment, validation, but discipline teaches you to look past the surface. It teaches you that real satisfaction comes from progress, not indulgence. It's about trading temporary pleasure for lasting pride. Every disciplined choice strengthens your willpower, and every indulgence weakens it. The mind is like a muscle. The more you train it to resist, the stronger it becomes. Discipline doesn't mean being emotionless or robotic. It means being committed. It means showing up regardless of how you feel. Some days you'll be inspired, other days you'll be drained. But discipline doesn't discriminate. The real test of commitment is what you do when you don't feel like doing it. The difference between the average and the elite lies in that exact moment. The moment when quitting feels easier than continuing. The disciplined don't wait for motivation. They act without it. They've trained their minds to obey their goals, not their moods. They understand that emotions are temporary, but habits are permanent. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen the habit of follow-through. And when follow-through becomes instinct, success becomes inevitable. To live a disciplined life, you have to master your environment. You can't rely solely on willpower. It fades. You have to design systems that make discipline the default. Surround yourself with reminders of your purpose. Remove distractions that weaken your focus. Build routines that automate good decisions. Discipline thrives in structure, and structure eliminates friction. The more predictable your process, the less room there is for excuses. Every morning routine, every daily plan, every repeated ritual is a vote for your future self. It's about building a rhythm that keeps you aligned with your purpose. The small disciplines repeated over time create a foundation so strong that even chaos can't shake it. Discipline also demands honesty, the courage to face your weaknesses without denial. You can't fix what you won't confront. The disciplined don't sugarcoat their failures. They analyze them. They see mistakes as data, not defeat. They hold themselves accountable, even when no one else does. Accountability is the mirror of progress. It reflects where you are and what still needs work. Without it, you drift. With it, you grow. Discipline gives you clarity because it strips away excuses. It shows you the difference between what you say you want and what you're willing to do for it. The gap between those two defines your results. There's also a spiritual side to discipline. The peace that comes from knowing you're doing what needs to be done, regardless of recognition. It builds confidence not because of achievements, but because of integrity. You trust yourself because you've proven to yourself that you can keep promises. Self-trust is the foundation of inner strength. When you know you'll show up no matter what, you become unstoppable. You stop negotiating with your laziness, your fears, your doubts. You operate with calm focus because you're no longer fighting yourself. Discipline creates harmony between your intentions and your actions, and that alignment is where fulfillment begins. The path of discipline is not easy, but it's simple. It's built on small daily wins that compound into greatness. It's the morning you wake up earlier, the task you finish before resting, the meal you choose that fuels you instead of slows you down. These choices might feel insignificant, but they're not. They're bricks in the foundation of a stronger, sharper, more resilient you. Every act of discipline reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. Over time, that identity becomes unshakable. You no longer have to convince yourself to act because discipline becomes who you are. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the countless moments where you choose purpose over comfort, consistency over convenience, effort over excuse. Discipline is freedom. The freedom to control your time, your energy, your destiny. It's not a punishment, it's a privilege. It gives you the ability to build the life you want instead of settling for the one handed to you. Every disciplined decision is a declaration of self-respect, a reminder that you're in charge of your path. The more disciplined you become, the fewer regrets you carry. Because while others are distracted, waiting and doubting, you're moving one consistent step at a time. And in that movement lies the quiet, unstoppable power that builds everything great. There's something powerful about silence. It carries an energy that speaks louder than noise ever could. When you reach the point where you no longer need to prove, argue, or explain yourself, you've tapped into a strength that few ever find. Your silence and focus become a form of communication, an unspoken declaration that your growth doesn't depend on the world's approval. People who are loud often seek validation. They want recognition before they've even earned it. But those who stay quiet while working on themselves create an aura of mystery and respect. They don't need to announce their progress because their results do it for them. Every moment spent in silence is an investment in mastery, a commitment to the process rather than the performance. Respect is not demanded, it's commanded through presence. When you operate with calm confidence, people feel it. They start to notice your discipline, your consistency, your results, and they begin to listen without you ever saying a word. That's the beauty of silence. Paired with focus, it shifts energy. It forces others to pay attention because what you're doing becomes impossible to ignore. The quiet worker in the room always carries the most weight, not because they talk the most, but because they let their actions create the narrative. In a world full of noise, silence becomes a form of rebellion. It separates you from the crowd and positions you as someone who doesn't chase attention, but earns it. When you focus entirely on your mission, you stop living for applause. You stop measuring success by how many people see your progress and start measuring it by how deeply you feel your growth. That's where transformation begins. The loudest energy is often the most insecure, trying to mask its doubts with words. But the focused individual, the one moving in silence, doesn't need noise because they're too busy building. They don't need validation because they already know who they are. They understand that respect isn't something you beg for. It's something that naturally flows to those who master their craft and remain humble while doing so. Every step of silence builds anticipation. People start to wonder what you're working on, how you're doing it, and what's coming next. That curiosity becomes power. The less you reveal, the more they want to know. The less you speak, the more your actions echo. Silence has gravity. It pulls attention without effort. That's why the most powerful individuals rarely explain themselves. They know that energy wasted on defending your path could be used to walk it instead. They let their consistency speak. Their habits reveal their priorities, and their progress tell their story. Staying silent doesn't mean being invisible, it means being intentional. It's not about hiding, it's about choosing where to place your energy. Every word, every reaction, every expression of emotion is an exchange of power. The disciplined individual understands that silence protects that power. It keeps others from accessing your weaknesses or disrupting your peace. The more silent you become, the more in control you are. You listen more, observe more, and learn more. You begin to see patterns others miss because they're too busy talking. You start to operate from a place of wisdom instead of impulse. Silence becomes strategy. There's a certain peace that comes when you stop needing to be understood. Not everyone will see your vision, and that's okay. They don't have to. Your silence becomes your shield from judgment. When people can't read your next move, they can't interfere with it. Focused silence confuses those who expect you to react. They thrive on drama while you thrive on discipline. They talk about plans while you execute them. They waste time explaining while you build something that will explain itself. Every hour you spend in quiet focus compounds into something that makes noise later. The noise of achievement, of success, of undeniable growth. The more you evolve, the less you'll feel the need to prove anything. You start to realize that true confidence is quiet. It's not about showing off. It's about knowing you know who you are, what you want, and where you're going, so you no longer need to convince anyone. That kind of confidence unsettles people because they can't figure you out. You're not seeking approval. You're not reacting to criticism. You're simply moving forward. And when your silence meets their doubt, time does the explaining. The results become your voice. The transformation becomes your answer. People will always talk. They'll question your choices, misunderstand your motives, and underestimate your abilities. But that's the gift of silence. You don't owe them clarity. You don't owe them explanations for what you're building in private. Let them wonder, let them assume. While they spend time guessing, you're gaining. The power of silence lies in redirection. It turns attention away from what doesn't matter and channels it into what does. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you gain emotional control. Every time you focus instead of defend, you strengthen your purpose. As your silence deepens, so does your focus. You start realizing that not every thought deserves expression, not every argument deserves energy, and not every battle is worth fighting. You stop chasing validation from people who can't see your vision and start chasing alignment with your purpose. That's the shift. From noise to clarity, from reaction to creation. You're no longer moved by opinions because you're anchored in your mission. You learn to trust your own process so deeply that the noise fades into the background. You stop being disturbed by the temporary distractions of the world because your mind is fixed on the long game. Eventually, your silence becomes your language of strength. When others see your growth but can't trace your process, they begin to respect it. They recognize something different about you, something grounded, focused, unshakable. You no longer need to prove you're growing because the evidence is undeniable. Every choice you make, every goal you achieve, every barrier you break, all of it speaks for you. The power of staying silent and focused is that it builds credibility over time. It makes people listen when you finally decide to speak because your words are backed by action. And in a world where everyone talks, that silence becomes your loudest statement. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste on proving your worth. It's understanding that every distraction steals from your destiny. When you stay focused, when you keep your head down and your heart committed, life begins to change in ways words can't describe. Opportunities start appearing. People start respecting you without knowing why. That's what happens when your silence aligns with your purpose. It creates momentum that no noise can replicate. It turns you into someone who doesn't chase recognition because recognition eventually chases you.